Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends. This is Trades Talk Podcast. I'm here with Jeremy Ross, round 2 with Mr. Jeremy. Well, man, how are you doing today?
Good. I'm tired, but I'm feeling really great and excited to be here.
Oh, well, you don't look tired. You look fantastic today. It might be the 4K footage, but also it might just be you. So, friends, we're going to have a conversation about leadership, about custom design build, about growing a division within a company, what that takes, what it looks like. So I think just for the listeners who don't know you yet, Jeremy, what is, just in a 60-second elevator pitch, your background within the landscape industry, and how long have you been at K&D Landscaping?
Man, I could take a lot more than 60 seconds. But so I actually got into the industry by working at Ewing Irrigation, funny enough. And then that's how I met a lot of landscape and general contractors from the area from coming into the store. So I fell into that after working at Ewing, got into a contractor, eventually ended up here at K&D. My K&D experience has been pretty crazy, but what I do here is I am the division lead for the design, build, construction division of K&D, and I oversee and make sure that we are successful at installing custom build, design build projects.
Awesome. So tell me a little bit about the division today. How many team members are in the division? Revenue, maybe average project size?
Yeah, this is the fun details for me because these are the things that I've always kind of been working towards, I suppose. So we have myself as the division lead, and then I have on the production side of things, I have 2 project managers. We've got 2 supervisors, and then we have 8 crews. So that's 8 foremen, and then the field crews that are associated with them. And then pre-construction side, we have a pre-construction manager, we have a design associate, and we have a sales and estimator. And then we also have the third party Your Haven design, which has been fantastic as kind of like a subsidiary employee almost for us, and has helped us supplement on the design side of things pretty substantially. So that makes, a full department in the pre-construction side of things where Kaylee kind of manages Your Haven.
So tell us, let's hit on that just for a minute, because I think it's a concept that most people have heard of, or maybe have heard bad things around historically, right? Outsourcing your designs to a local designer, taking 6, 8, 10 weeks to get back. Communication's a little bit sparse. Your Haven's got a different model. Tell us a little bit maybe about that process. What does it look like when you guys have a design and you're outsourcing that design process?
Yeah. This has been always kind of like a weird faux pas area in our industry, right? Yeah. Where like some people are really reluctant to use the help that's there. And I've been one of those people for sure, where I've fought against parts of this. But I think we're in the day of technology and AI and all these great things, and utilizing smarter people and more efficient people in this industry is only going to push us further and faster. Yeah. And I think that's basically what's happening here is I met Derek through social media, oddly enough. And then we hit it off and kind of, he told us like, we can do this for you. And I was like, well, this is what we need. And he's like, well, this is what we can do for you. And I'm happy to like build custom like applications for you. So Derek in Your Haven has been so understanding of like our needs and necessities. And I think he does a really good job at this just in his business in general.
Yeah.
And he really tailors to kind of some of the neediness that we have, which makes it work for us. And I think that's been part of the like reluctancy, I think, in the industry is just like people want things done their way. And similarly, we do too. And, using a third party, it's like you're going to have somebody produce something that is not yours and is not how you like it to be done. So we've just done a really good job at articulating what we consider to be exactly that, and then making sure that Your Haven follows through with it.
I heard an acronym that ties into that, which is WIGGLE, from Kevin Dorsey, incredible sales leader. And mentor to many. You can follow him on LinkedIn. He says, Wiggle is what does good look like? WGGL, what good looks like. Or WGLL, there we go. WGLL.
There we go.
Wiggle.
Okay.
What good looks like. And if you can describe, define, and share what good looks like to your team, to subcontractors, to vendors you're working with very closely, you're going to get a better response back. I mean, this goes into AI prompting too. If you know what good looks like before you ship it, before it goes out the door, then you can, I think, leverage subcontractors and partners at a much higher rate than people who are unsure what good looks like. They just know it when they see it. And that's harder to delegate out to a third-party service. So I think that's part of it is you have a really, I would say, a really keen eye of what good looks like, both in the office and on the job site. And I think your team's absorbed that over the years, and that is a big part of why we're successful with partners like Yourhaven.
Yeah, I agree. And I think what you just described and what I was thinking in my head too is like articulating that ability, right, is like such a huge portion. Is like if you know what good looks like and can't describe it, that becomes a big like mishap for yourself. Like you can't overcome that. And I think there's a lot of companies in this world that like if you don't know how to articulate what it is you want, and you just are like a baby beating your head up against a wall, you're never going to end up with it. But if you find a good way, and I think that that's what my team has done really good at, and it's not me. I've hired people that are better than me at this, right? And I think that that's a huge part of our success in this industry too, is we have a lot of really smart people that know what they need to get done and how to articulate how to do it. And I think that like has been very important for us, and the communication with Yourhaven specifically, but then also like our like growth in subcontracting also. So
let's go into this a little bit. You said hiring people who are better at you in certain areas and then leading them. How, I think this is an area a lot of people struggle with, I think myself included. How do you manage, maybe manage is the wrong word, but how do you lead people when you know that they're better than you at certain things? Not letting your ego get in the way.
I feel like you could answer this question too.
I mean, I could have my own answer, but
well, no, it's funny though, because like this brings me back to like the very beginning of our relationship and K&D is like, you know, my wife, because you're younger than I am.
Yeah.
And like that's an interesting dynamic.
Yeah.
But like it never really phased me at the beginning, but it does affect a lot of different people where it's like, how are you going to work for somebody that's younger than you? And like I've had employees that have been older than me too. And that's just a really interesting area. It's like if you battle with that, then you're going to lose.
Yeah.
And I think that that's like so many people, especially in construction, like the cowboys hate losing and they hate admitting that they're not the smartest. Whereas I think us falling into humility of a core value and being able to understand that you're not the best at what you do. And if, you know, what I pride myself in is actually building teams. Like I'm not fantastic at landscaping. I'm not fantastic at finance. I'm not fantastic at pre-con. I'm not fantastic at project management. I'm good at all of them.
Yeah.
And I know what good looks like.
Yeah.
And I can articulate and I can say what I want it to do. But could I manage it? Could I do it for a long period of time? Probably not that well. But that's why I feel like I've hired really freaking awesome people to fall into those roles and take care of it for me. Because one, I don't always want to do those things because those aren't always the things I love to do. You know, I love handling my organization of my org chart. You know, that's what I love to do. It's like make sure that they're all tight knit and getting the resources they need in order to be successful.
What are some of the tools you use to help your team get along, to help your team be successful? Because we all know that in a company of this size, a division even of your size, which was say again, what's kind of like trailing 12-month revenue right now for you guys?
Trailing 12 for us is about 8 million.
It's a big department. It's a big company. You know, I think a lot of people are striving to achieve the $5 million, $10 million mark. So being at 8, I think is a really good reference point. What are some of the tools that you implement to help your team be a cohesive, successful team?
I think there's a lot that goes into that.
Yeah.
I think something that you and I have learned together is the importance of one-to-ones. That's, immensely important to make sure that you and your team are on the same page. Because you can take the foundation for what it is that you've built upon and use that in the one-to-ones to kind of refine the actions of your soldiers in different areas. And I think that we in this division specifically are really great about that, is using one-to-ones very methodically to control the dynamic of the team. And it's not always KPI based, it's not always rock based, and those are, like having key performance indicators and really, really important tasks that we need to accomplish in quarters, things along those lines. Yeah, we do review those things in our one-to-ones, but I think the most important thing that we do address in one-to-ones is like, how's the dynamic with your team directly below you? Like, how is the reporting system going? And are you getting the responses that you need to get? And are you getting the resources from me that you need to get? And show me some humility in this one-to-one of like, where are you not being successful? And that builds trust. And we were talking about trust in our planning session. Is like how, like, I think one thing that we have above and beyond anybody else is the level of trust. Is like, if you have a team that absolutely believes in each other, they'll go the extra mile for each other. So I think one-to-ones are really, really important.
Yeah.
And then the foundation that I was kind of speaking on earlier is like making sure that there's a general idea of what we want to do. So we're not just running around like chickens with our heads cut off.
So a vision.
Yeah, a vision.
Yeah,
exactly. And I think that the vision, the foundation is, I feel like the word articulate is coming out quite a bit on this, but it's like being able to really understand what that is. And as long as the team knows and is bought into that, then they can go and have their one-to-ones with their team and drive the message forward all the way to the bottom and to the top. And those things, very simply put and very shortly put, I think are the most important things, is vision and foundation. Yeah. And then one-to-one communication, humility.
So when let's say you and I are having a one-to-one, right? How would you typically start out your one-to-one? Is there a form that they're filling out? How do you prepare for it? And what's maybe your first opening question that you typically start with? And the reason I'm asking, I'll just say this, the reason I'm asking for everyone listening to this is because we talk about one-to-ones all the time on TradeStalk and on my other social media. I don't know if I've ever really unpacked what it looks like. So I felt like it might be a good opportunity to kind of unpack, like, okay, that's a car, but like what's inside the engine? Yeah. So let's start that off. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, no, everybody's going to do it differently, I would imagine. You have a result that you want to get to. And I think that one-to-ones is like the result, right? And you want to have them, right? But what does the engine look like? I think that's and everybody has a different engine. We can put together a Honda, a
gas or a battery.
Yeah, exactly. And it can be different in many different ways as long as you end up with a similar result. But for me, and I think company-wide, which our standard is, we have one-to-one forms that we ask our team members to fill out and submit before their one-to-ones every single time.
Okay.
Some of my team members are really good about it. Like Rudy is fantastic about filling out his one-to-one forms. And some of the teammates are not as great about it, but then they come with notes based on what that form is so that there is substance to talk about. And then some of them, are so frazzled from their week that they don't necessarily get it, but it's like through consistency, how is this working out? So as long as it's, not like I missed it every single time, then it's okay. But yeah, there's always a base for what this should look like. So we have our one-to-one form, which has, very deep questions that kind of get into different areas that we've wanted them. And we've structured this specifically for our one-to-ones.
Gosh, yeah, we're probably on version like 7 or 8 at this point.
Through the last 9 years that we've had, yeah, for sure. And we keep making it better, or we keep making it different because of our growth patterns and stuff like that. So, but I think that that's very important because it gets your brain going in the right direction of what that is. But the very first question that I always ask, and this is very simple and kind of like dumb, honestly, in my mind, but it's like, how are you doing? Yeah. And it opens the door. And every single time they just go. And it's like, it's just like, they're waiting for the curtain call or the action or the, whatever it is. They're waiting for like, I need your, like, I'm going to get some help in this like meeting, or it's usually a pretty important meeting. And I think it built a good place in everybody where it's like, this is a place where you can come and you can get advice, or you can vent about something, or you can blah, 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 whatever it is. So it's become a very valuable place to everybody on the team, and it's different every single time. So, and for me, and that's kind of how my team looks at it. And then after we do the, how are you doing? Like, is there anything immediately pressing? Then we'll kind of get into one-to-one form questions, so that they kind of guide the one-to-one, as it will. But sometimes they take their own form, if you will,
So you're not super rigid. You're more there to help open up an opportunity. Like, we have an empty table here to fill up whatever that person wants to put on the table.
Sure. I think, as you just described it, is people need to be careful about that.
Right. When holding a one-to-one?
Yeah. Because I think, here's another thing that, like, from my experience is, like, I'm getting older. And I'm learning that I've been out there quite a bit, and I've got a lot of experience. Sometimes it's okay to admit that. And I've been doing this for a long time, so I'm comfortable doing this. I'm comfortable having the conversations. I'm comfortable guiding things in a certain direction that I need them to go in, or they need to go in. Not everybody has those skills. So that's what the one-to-one forum is for, right? Is like, make sure we have a proper structure, a proper guide in this meeting. So I would say that not everybody should do it as like organic as I do it, I would say.
Yeah.
But I do think that like having that structure and sometimes following it pretty rigidly is important. And I would advise my project managers and my pre-construction manager and my foreman and my supervisors all to follow the form.
So you're alluding to something that I think is really important here. The way you handle and hold your one-to-ones is going to set a standard for your team to then go and do their one-to-ones with their people. Right. Your supervisors to go do a one-to-one with the crew leader, or your project manager to do it with the supervisor. So when we're hosting these one-to-ones as a leader at the top of the organization, how important is it to set a good example? Have you seen a situation where your team has taken a one-to-one and taken that style and then actually like really made it substantially better? Or do they kind of take that style and kind of like, not to say in a bad way, but kind of like they roll downhill a little bit? Like, you set the top of the bar and then they kind of come in under that.
Yeah, I think that goes for a lot of different leadership directions. One-to-ones are difficult because I think a lot of people fight them on different levels of the organization chart, because I think that until you get to a certain level, you don't necessarily see the importance of how the information travels up and down the ladder. Mm-hmm. So I think that what you're describing is like, people see tidbits of it as it moves down, and people see greater significance of it as it moves up the ladder. Like, I get crazy value out of my one-to-ones, whereas like I would argue that one of my project managers may not get it because they're distracted by the current events.
They're producers. They're doing work. Yeah.
They're like, on their brain, they're thinking about how Jane Smith just sent them an email complaining about the paver is not the one that they ordered or wanted to have, right? Yeah. And that's in the back of their head. So they're like, oh crap, like I want to deal with that, but I've got to do my one-to-one. So I think there's a lot of reluctancy to do it, even though when they sit down and have them, they understand the value of it. Yeah. So getting them to actually do it, or getting them to actually give the energy to it, I have noticed has been pulling teeth a little bit, but I think they see the importance of it over a long period of time.
Right.
So you can see them take tools from our L10s, which are the level 10 meetings that we constantly have weekly, and then our one-to-ones, and then utilize those things in their meetings with their foreman and with their crew members, and the one-to-ones that need to happen all the way down. But I would say probably the quality of the one-to-one probably gets less and less as it.
Wow. So do you feel like one-to-ones how important are they in the things, the tool belt of a leader, one-to-ones being one of those tools, where would you rank that from, a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the most important thing, 1 being like,
I would put probably between, I would say around an 8 would be of importance.
So if someone's listening to this and they have direct reports and they're not doing regular one-to-ones,
that's a miss.
Yeah, they should start doing them.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think
as easy as that.
Yeah, it's 100% a miss, because I think being in landscaping for almost 20 years now, starting as a crew member out in the field and not having any attention from anybody ever, to where we are now, where I think a lot of these guys take the things that we provide for them for granted. And it is that, where it's like they don't know any better. So that's okay. It's fine. But we have been there. We've seen this. And I know the value of it. So it's like, how hard do you push on them? It's like, and tell them like, no, I know this is good. It's hard for sure. But I think the value is so crucial with the knowledge that we have, that it's worth pushing onto them, because we know what information we're going to get and what value it's going to bring to the division, and then increase the power of the division for the company as a whole as well. So yeah, it's easily an 8 or a 9, I think, on the level. And then like having our L10s would be the 10 of importance. And I think a lot of people fight these things because it's like, we don't have the time to do it. It's another thing. It's another blah, blah, blah. But, and I've been there. I've done that, so many times. And I think every once in a while I still do that. But then you think back of like how do we get the information if we don't do that?
Yeah.
It doesn't happen. You're just doing what we said earlier, where it's like you're hoping that information comes back. You're hoping that you know what good looks like.
Right. And you're hoping they have alignment on it.
And that L10 is articulating what good looks like.
Yeah.
And that's like, if you have that and can broadcast that on a mass level, which is what we're providing, then the thread becomes connected to every player, as opposed to just having a bunch of different individuals running around with different ideas.
So you have team alignment, you have team trust, you have one-on-ones. When we talk about those weekly L10 meetings, can you give us just a rundown of what the agenda looks like and how long they are?
Our weekly L10 starts off with what I think is so crucially important, which is very simple. Kind of like, it's like that stupid, like, how are you doing?
Yep.
It's started off with some good news. And our good news consists of one thing that is work-related and one thing that's personally related. And, it's an element of humility and an element of vulnerability. And it creates the trust line, deposits of trust. We talked about that, right?
Yeah.
I think that is, who's talking about, was that the guy that was the speaker?
Eric Tremundi?
No,
Dan Martell?
Dan Martell.
Dan Martell.
Dan Martell.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dan Martell was talking very much about deposits of trust within your team.
Yeah.
And I think that starting off the meeting with a deposit of trust, I think, is huge. So we go around the room and we all do that, and then we'll jump into headlines. And headlines consist of, these are the things that are going on in the last week that need to be addressed with the team. Does the headline become a to-do? Does the headline become an issue that we need to process as a team? Does the headline need to get sent to another division?
Cross-divisional communication.
Yeah.
Okay.
So all of those things can happen in the L10 and in the control of the person that's running the L10. Typically, I run the L10 in our division. And the different headlines can get sent or processed however we need to make sure it does. So sometimes the headlines do become issues and they get moved into the meeting at a more lengthy part at the end. After we do headlines, we jump into our, for the sake of the conversation, can't remember exactly, but we do to-dos. So to-dos are generated through this meeting and they get sent as email updates, and then we review them as a team to make sure that we are actually doing them. Then we have our key performance indicator, so KPI, our scoreboard review, and everybody on the team has a metric that they're responsible for. We try and keep it to 1 now because it just simplifies things. We have enough people on the team that 1 is really, 13.
Yeah.
So we have 13 important KPIs that we track. And then after KPIs, and while we're going through this, any one thing can create an issue that is important for us to process, or a headline that we need to send somewhere else, or a to-do that needs to be generated.
Yeah.
And they all get recapped at the scenario at the end. And then from KPIs, we review our rocks, which are quarterly initiatives. And then from there, we get into issue processing, which is probably the most substantial area of our meeting, which is, Ms. Smith, we hit the septic system and it needs to get repaired. Like, what steps do we need to go through in order to make sure that the team is doing everything they need to do to, move forward with this? Or the crew members are not doing the huddles every single morning, and what do we need to do to correct that? So different big issues that are level 10 worthy get put on the issue processing board. And then once we get through that, then we kind of conclude, everybody rates the meeting, and then an email goes out to you and to other people within the company to show that, one, we did it and all the substances behind it. And then that's pretty much it. And you just finish the meeting, conclusion.
And you're done.
Yeah.
And what is that, an hour, 90 minutes? What's typically the length of this meeting?
Oh, man, it could be all day.
It could.
Yeah. But no, I think our meeting is about an hour, and that's the other thing, is the rating of this is important, right?
Yeah.
It needs to be a level 10. If it's not a level 10, then why are you doing it?
Yeah.
So we're anticipating that everybody in the meeting is going to give it between an 8 and a 10. And if it's anything lower than an 8, it deserves an explanation. Like, why did we miss? Like, what substance was crappy in this? So timing's a big part of it. We need to respect people's time. So we try and keep it to the hour that it is. It runs over pretty often, so we get lower ratings periodically, but we try and keep it to an hour.
Yeah, I think this is really good for people to hear, because from the outside looking in, I think a lot of people feel that K&D does too much. Too many meetings, too many one-to-ones, too many assessments, too much data, too much AI, too much innovation, too many shiny objects. And there's probably some validity to that. But regardless of the fact, you and the team have grown this division from a few 100,000 in 2018 when you joined. 2018, right?
I started in 2017.
2017.
Yeah.
So first full year, 2018.
Because I started December 1st.
Of 2016?
I don't remember.
All right. Well, oh man, that's...
Because it'll be 9 years December 1st.
Okay. So that means it's 2017.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So all right. So when you came in, whatever. All right.
Yeah.
We're starting off with a few 100,000. Today you're 8 million. That doesn't happen by accident, and it doesn't happen by just doing the same thing over and over again. And so I think a lot of people are quick to say, I don't have time to do the meeting.
Sure.
I don't have time to do the one-to-one. I don't have time to go market our company. I don't have time to call architects and engineers and construction custom home builders. You have made the time. You've found the time. You've built the system along with the entire K&D ecosystem. And I think it's really important just to take a minute to pause on that, because when people start to create those excuses that they do not have time to do these things, but yet they complain that being stuck at 1 million or stuck at 2 million, it's a pretty clear equation from my perspective, is like, well, if you're not doing these things and you're not able to get past 2 or 3 million in revenue as a company, and then you compare yourself to a residential design build company here at K&D who is, you've been able to basically just like grow every year at 20, 25, 30% compounded every year, basically, to where you are today. It's like, maybe you should just really try to unpack that playbook and follow it with your own twist to it. But I do feel like there's a lot of resistance when I talk to other companies and they hear about this. And when I debrief on my podcast, we were just in Chicago for Leanscaper, and a ton of people were like, oh, I love your podcast. I heard this, great idea, but I wish I could implement it. I just don't have time. So what do you say to the people out there who are really grinding? Like these guys are working 80, 100-hour weeks. They are really putting in the time. And yet they're still feeling like they're just spinning their wheels when it comes to these types of initiatives.
First thing that I think about is like a trial of sorts, right? Let's take Jason Pascas, my most senior project manager currently, because Josh is leaving. But
yeah.
Jason comes from a general contracting background. We hired him from a general contractor. And this is not just Jason. This is everybody that gets hired by K&D,
Yeah.
right? So every
I already
single
know where you're
person
going.
comes in and they're like, why the fuck do you have so many meetings?
Yeah.
I can't do this.
Yep.
Which is basically what you're just saying.
Yep.
Now, I'm going to skip past the last 3 years and say, Jason, today, if you tried to take one of Jason's meetings away from him, he would lose it.
We did.
Yeah.
We tried after Q1. I tried to take away a bunch of meetings and no one would give up their meetings.
Exactly.
It's like, I guess we need them.
Yeah, and that is the proof in the pudding in a very simple version, right? It's like you have a person that is what you just described, goes through the motions honestly, I would have said after 1 year, he would have had the same reaction, like, oh, we're going to get rid of the L10, or we're going to get rid of the scheduling meeting, or we're going to get rid of the billing and
work ticket management. Ticket management.
Yes, exactly. He would say, hell no to every single one of those.
Yeah.
Because of how crucially important it is to his knowledge to drive the machine forward. And that is it in a very simple nutshell. And if you understand the tools that you will gain, the knowledge that you will gain, the simplicity that will become your life, and granted, it doesn't fix everything, right? It's like we still have stress, we still work our butts off. It's like AI. AI doesn't really make our life easier. It just makes everything more efficient, so you can do more stressful shit.
Yeah,
you know, it's like
you can fill it with more valuable, aka more stressful shit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's like now you're taking on more. So I mean, and that shouldn't be a thing to push or hinder anybody from doing it either, right? It's like you have
choose your own.
Good data in, good data out. Yeah. Good information out. And it's like, it's for all of my project managers, for anybody that works in production or pre-construction, them having all of the knowledge so that when you are asked a question, you can very simply know and give that answer back. And being able to give it to your team when they want it and when they need it is very, very important. And we still miss from time to time, but God, are we better.
Yeah.
You know, and like we're constantly getting better every single day. And why are we getting better every single day? Because we have meetings.
Yeah.
Because we sit down and we process the issue as a team. Because we decide together as a team that something doesn't work and we kick it out. Or we decide together as a team that something works really fucking good and we're going to keep it and we're never going to get rid of it. Right?
Yeah.
So if we didn't do those things, we wouldn't get better. We would become stagnant at 2 million, 2.5 million, 3 million, whatever it is, because that was the speed bump for us until we figured out how to properly connect the dots and collect the data and move forward.
Right.
And that is like, if we don't have the collective brain power and we just had a bunch of individual brains out there, we would never be.
That's well put. I think it's a good message to folks out there of just how important doing the hard work is. And when I say hard work, I don't mean the field work. I think in landscaping, we tend to idolize the work, the hardscape, the water feature, the pool. And if you look at social media and you follow a lot of landscape companies like I do, you see a lot of finished products. You see a lot of showcase award-winning jobs that are fantastic, amazing, beautiful. But what about all the stuff that happens behind the scenes?
Yeah.
I think a lot of landscape owners and operators and division leaders especially, they fall in love with the craft. And this is a bit of a controversial point, but I think it's worth talking about. You have to almost like step back from the craft, step back from the landscape product itself to really build the team that can then go back and deliver that amazing customer experience.
Yeah.
So how has that been for you? Literally working the counter at Ewing, your previous company, you basically were on the job site, laying bricks, laying pavers, putting in pipe, to now where you're probably rarely at job sites, probably less often than you like even. Yeah. But you're not failing. Your team is getting great reviews. Things are going in a great direction. So again, your typical average traditional landscaper looks at Jeremy's schedule and says, you need to be on the job site more. You need to be with customers more. You need to be doing this more. I see the point. You're taking a little bit more of a disruptive, non-traditional path. You know, how is that working for you? And what advice do you have for other people who are really like sucked into the job and they're on the job site every single day?
Yeah, I mean, because that is exactly what it is, I was out there doing all this stuff exactly how the old cowboys would have said to do it.
Yeah.
And you literally make so much progress that you get up against a cinder block wall and you're this far away from it. You're just constantly freaking banging your head against it because there's no more progress that you can make without getting better information.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I think K&D and you have provided for myself is just a higher vantage point of how things can be. Not how they should be, but how they can be.
Yeah.
Because we don't have to do it this way. And people don't have to do it this way. You could grind yourself through that cinder block wall, sure. But it would take a lot of credit, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears and stuff. But I think that there's something to be said for the human connection of any industry, really.
Yeah.
It's really just people to people things. And if you can create a foundation of trust in a place of that people desire to go and do well at and have the tools, you will constantly be growing and creating this flywheel of substance for your team to constantly be making more and more and getting towards that kind of $100,000 minimum wage that we constantly are talking about. And my wholehearted, honest opinion, and I would say that you probably agree with this because you do similar things, is like you have to have a tip of the spear. You have to have somebody that is out there doing the work that you wouldn't necessarily, especially in landscape, think that is the hard, dirty work because you don't have dirt under your fingernails.
Yeah.
You haven't fucking, cut yourself with a utility knife in the last month. And, you haven't got it. So there's these things through the trades that you're used to like beating yourself up about. Whereas like 10 years ago, I would have called somebody a pussy for, not in my position.
Yeah.
Whereas now is like, I'm trying to do my best at like forecasting and looking into the future and preparing all these things for my team to be successful, which I've learned a lot about. And like, it's so crucially important for our team to understand what they're getting themselves into before they get there so that they can be successful at the battle that they're about to have. And that's what this is all about. And preparing, providing your team with all of those things to be successful and happy.
Yeah.
Like happy people put out a much better product. And that's, again, we have our skeletons. Everybody does. It's just how it goes. Like you can't be perfect.
Yeah.
But you can be really damn good and you can create really amazing relationships, even in mistakes. And that's what we're really freaking good at, is making sure that everybody's happy through the really awesome times and through the not so awesome times.
Yeah.
That you have to have both sides. It's just inevitable. And that's the other thing, like I learned from these conferences is like everybody has very similar situations.
Mm-hmm.
And it's no different. It's just a matter of how you're handling them. Everybody handles things a little bit differently. And that's how we do. We do things through meetings, through communication, through information and clarity. And it's not easy to do when you have an owner-operator who's jumping from job site to job site constantly and doesn't know the back end of their finances or the forecast of their finances. Like, you just can't do it.
Yeah, where you're going is so important.
Yeah.
So how we're talking about a lot of successful things we're doing, but obviously we know there's a lot of work to do here at K&D. Last week we were in Chicago for the Leanscaper People Intensive. I just actually connected the dots. People, trust.
Yeah.
We flew someone in. We paid her, we paid this person $10,000, this company $10,000 to come in and facilitate an 8-hour conversation, which most people would look at that and be like, it's crazy. Why would you spend that? Tell us a little bit, as much as you're willing to share, about some of the things that we are working on as a leadership team here at K&D. I just want to be a little vulnerable for the listeners here, because sometimes I feel like we can get on here and talk about all things that all the things that we figured out over the last 8-9 years that's working, and maybe not show the true cracks that are always showing up.
Sure. I think it's important to also point out, because like, I think a lot of people listen to the podcast or just listen to advice and from speakers and from people that they're pulling information from, is like, they heard we hired so-and-so for $10,000. But let's be honest, we ran through that in our head meticulously for a period of time, right? It's like we process that too. It's not like we're just like, you know what we need? A $10,000 advisor. Push the button, boom, it's done. Like, no, there's some
multiple
process.
Zoom calls, multiple type of teams.
It's like we vet, we make sure that it's gonna work for us before we pull the trigger on it, and that's, I think a lot of people look at K&D and just think that, like, they just make smart decisions constantly. It's like, like there's definitely some bad ones mixed in there too, but the good ones we make, we definitely think them through, make sure that they're gonna work.
Yeah.
Now, she did a really good job at facilitating our leadership planning session, which can normally go off on tangents quite often.
Yeah.
Which is like, you get, how many people are in our leadership team?
9, including myself.
Yeah. So we have 9 people. You have 9 opinions. You have 9 directions to move in, and everybody wants it to go in their direction.
Yeah.
Right. So, moderating that is very important. So we saw the importance of bringing somebody in to help with that, and I think she did a really good job.
Yeah.
With that. Now, we had leadership is important, right? And I think that you should always have there's a certain point where it needs to be implemented. When is that? I think that's debatable for all companies, right?
For sure.
Depends on the level of brain power you have in your company, I would suppose.
Yeah.
But I would say a moderator is probably inappropriate at, like 3 or 4 members of leadership or so. But at a point when it becomes big enough, I think we've had them before, and we're having them again, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that it helped quite a bit. Now, getting to the part I think that you're leading to is like, we have that many people, right? We have 9 people. Everybody, again, like I said, has their own opinion, their own direction, their own wants, needs, desires, the pain. And this is something I'm going through with my team so heavily right now, because I think I noticed it during our planning session and then leading up to our planning session, is especially during the hot season, which we consider like our busy season.
Yeah.
Pain can be inflicted frequently and and deeply, if you will. And it's really, really, really easy for a human being to get poked by something and say, ow, and want to blame it on somebody immediately. Mm-hmm. And that is very much apparent in life, I think, for all people. Whereas, like, you don't want to take any responsibility for yourself or for your team, or you want to be defensive. You want there to be a reason that those things happen, something to blame, right? And I think that happens quite often. And we as leadership have to address these things quite often. And it's hard. It's difficult. And I think that, again, the foundation of all this is trust. And we had a very, very intimate conversation about trust in our leadership team planning session, this last one. And I think, just thinking about it, like, I get a little bit of nerves going, because like it's so... I've been here and I've been on the leadership team from inception. Yeah. And you and me and Jessica have always been part of it. And we all understand the importance of the bond and making sure that we all have each other's backs. Yeah. And whenever you feel like maybe there's a little bit of an outlier of that, like, notion, then we like to jump on it. And you did that, right? And that's kind of like how we started off our meeting. So there's really no context behind what it was, but I think the importance of what we did is what it is, right? It's like, you need to notice these moments where something may not be right and go into that. And whether it is wrong or right, it really doesn't matter. But having the space that you feel comfortable to do it in is important, because you could have been dead wrong, or any one of us could have been dead wrong. There's nothing to talk about here. But if you felt it, it's worth talking about, right? Yeah. And I think that that's what the leadership, it's so important that we all have that openness to have those conversations, because if you leave one person to their insecurities and they just sit there and fester and get bad, then that person starts blaming the person on their left constantly. And then there's a fight that breaks out, and then they don't like each other. And then that person not supporting this person. And we lose an account, and all of a sudden we're, down $300,000 in revenue.
Yeah.
And that's how easy it happens, So I think we went through an exercise of trust in leadership where it was just opening up the door and having a conversation about it. I don't think, any one person was really angry or sad or upset about anything particular, but it was a really good, healthy conversation that we had.
Yeah, it's well put. It's a hard thing to put into words, because and I'll just say this: trust is at the foundation of every great team, and it becomes, you have to work on it in high performing teams. I think when you get people who don't really give a shit and they're just here for a paycheck and they show up and whatever, it's almost like that trust is harder to build in a deep way, but it's easier to kind of just like get by. But when you have people who really fucking care about success and they're like, this is my thing. Like, I want to hang my hat on what I do here, and I want this to be my legacy in some way, shape, or form, then I think that trust actually is harder to build, but incredibly long-lasting and deep when you do build it. And I think we can see this in any high-performing sports team. You coach soccer for a high-performing soccer team of 9 and 10-year-olds, right? Like, how old are they? How old's Wyatt now?
Yeah, 9. Well, their majority of them are 9, but yeah.
Yeah, so you're coaching these like 9 and 10-year-olds, but they're like absolute freaking savages out there. And if you don't have trust, then people aren't going to trust to pass the ball to score the goal. They're going to try to take it all the way themselves, and that almost never works. And so I think the more high-performing people you start to put together, the more important trust becomes.
Yeah, I think you nailed that one buzzword right there. It's high performance, right? Yeah. It's like, I've coached not only 9-year-olds, but I've coached at high school level, and I've played at collegiate levels, and I now am part of a very high-performing leadership team. And I think that I've been on all the levels, and we're getting to this point now on our team where it's like you have so many all-stars or so many captains on one team that every single one of them wants to take the reins.
Yeah.
And if you have 9 people who are all saying like, my way is the best, you're going to create some conflict, right? And the trust foundation is what's so crucially important, that if like you need to have a place where you can say like, you're fucking dead wrong.
Yeah.
And in a nice way, right? And then we can have a conversation about it, and we can work through it and get to a result that is comfortable for everybody, because it's compromise. That's the word I'm looking for, because you're not going to get an answer. And I think that's where it's like you have very high, like Tony is so on top of things, and he's so smart, and he's so good at communicating with human beings and connecting with human beings, and he knows exactly what he should be doing in his area. Andy, the same thing. Brian, the same thing. Me, the same thing. Jessica, the same thing. John, the same thing. Sean, Tina,
Sean,
you. Like, everybody is like, we all know what we're good at, and we all know what we need to be good at it, and we're all going to ask for it.
Yeah.
And we have to communicate properly. And it's like, it's really easy to ruffle feathers, because if you tell somebody that they can't have it, they're going to be like, why the fuck not?
Yeah.
Like, I need that to hit my goals.
Yeah.
And then it's like this whole, so we have to figure out how to navigate all that stuff amongst 9 opinions from all-stars who are all proven to be successful.
Yeah.
And that's fucking hard.
It's so much harder than it sounds.
Yeah.
When you really endeavor on this. But conflict is at the core of that. And I do think part of this is having a shared mission. And we kind of have like, it's all starting to kind of settle into these 2 things that we really base a lot of our decision making on. Number 1, raise the bar in the landscape industry, or just raise the bar. That's our purpose, our why. The second thing is like, what do we want to do with that? We want to accomplish $100,000 minimum wage. A lot of people think that's completely impossible in the landscape industry, but we're going to set out to see if we can get it. All right, how close can we get? So when we're making decisions or we're having conflict, what I love to bring up is like, guys, is this helping us get closer to $100,000 minimum wage? Is this helping us raise the bar? And it's pretty quick to say, you know what? No, let's like reset the room. Or yeah, no, this is actually really worth fighting for. And let's make sure that we're honoring our fundamentals and let's have it out. Because at the end of the day, a high performing team has it out. But where do they have it out? On the field or in the locker room? In the fucking locker room. So be aware as a leadership team of where you're having it out, because I think we've all been a part of a team where like, mom and dad are fighting figuratively, or maybe in my situation, literally in the company. And it's like, this doesn't help anyone. So make sure you have it out in the locker room, behind the cameras, behind the scenes, but make sure to have it out. I think that was like the big takeaway for me last week is.
You remind me of a book. Do you remember Shoe Dog?
Phil Knight, man.
Phil Knight.
Fucking
and he
awesome.
Was talking about how his first leadership team, like that's like they would lock themselves in a room, just fucking like throw shoes at each other and argue.
Yeah.
And it's like, and they walked out of the room better for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you have to be able to do that.
And if one person on your team is holding you back from doing that, and you're listening to this and you're like, man, when so-and-so isn't in the room, we get that. But when so-and-so is here, we're so worried about this or that or this or that. It's like, you really got to ask yourself, how are you going to fix that?
Yeah.
Because you got to fix that.
Yeah. And we've had that.
We've had it. We've had to fix it.
And we fixed it.
Yeah. I mean, man, it's not easy. And that's a really big part of this is it's not easy. So on a little more positive note, and to start to kind of shift the conversation towards wrapping up the pod here, what's your favorite book that you've read lately? Maybe a favorite book.
Does it have to be work related?
No.
I just read a really great book.
Let's get off work.
That's fucking hilarious. So I just got back from a vacation and family, and
congratulations, by the way. Like 2 weeks is.
Yes, it was great.
Like,
and I've never finished a book in that short of a period of time.
Okay.
So I read the book cover to end while I was there, and it's like a really fucking good book. It's called. I'm gonna sound like a fucking nerd in front of a lot of different people, and I'm willing to do this, so I apologize. But it's Dungeon Crawler Carl, and it's like a top 10 bestseller right now and all this stuff. But it's Matt Dinniman, I believe, is the author, and it's about this. I'm a super nerd in like video games and like science fiction and stuff like that, and it's kind of like a mixture of the two of them. It's really interesting, but it's kind of like if you were gonna have science fiction like meet with Hunger Games kind of situation.
Okay, yeah.
So it's like this guy and aliens, and they get put in this like game show thing where like people can like send them resources and stuff, and he has to make it through the different levels of the dungeon, and it's really freaking good. And it's on the top seller. So
yeah, you're like it's not like
I swear it's on the top seller.
It's a good one.
But yeah, that is the one that I've read the most recently, and it was really freaking good. Work-wise, I think my brain was so much in that I haven't been listening to anything.
Tell me about so when you're on vacation and you're reading a book like that, I feel like it always kind of concretes that vacation in your memory a little bit better, because maybe I travel a lot, and so I like mix things up a lot of like, was that in like Hawaii or Florida or wherever? And when you read a book, I feel like it kind of like places you back into that place. Like you can think about the book and remember like, oh yeah, I was sitting out on the deck reading that as the sun was rising in what island did you go to?
Big Island.
Yeah. Oh, the Big Island.
Yeah. No, it's funny you say that because it's 100% true. Whereas like, I can remember where my reading spots were on the island, and it's going to help me remember like my kids are 12 and 9 now, so it's like I can remember the book and them running around and playing in the pool and like doing different stuff. So yeah, definitely the association with that. It's pretty funny.
What was your favorite part about the Big Island? Did you guys visit anything that was like super cool?
So yeah, So when we normally go, so there's a Hilo. Hilo's great. It's the wet side of the island, right? And then the other side's Kona, which is the drier side.
Yeah.
So most of the tourists go to the Kona side because it's just like nicer and not as wet and rainy and stuff. But so while we were in Hilo, it was rain forecasted the entire time we were there. We got so much freaking rain, but it was dumping so much that there was so much water coming off the mountains that all of the rivers and waterfalls were like, I don't know, 20 times as big.
Wow.
So we went waterfall chasing during one of the rainy spells, and we got soaking wet. We were in and out of the rental van, like, you know, just water all over the freaking place, chasing, like, but it was crazy because these are the biggest waterfalls I've ever seen in my entire life. And normally they would be like falling off these big old rocks and stuff. You can't even see rocks. It was just like impressive waterfalls in Hawaii, which was really cool. And then we have friends and family that have Airbnb, and there's a general store. And anyways, there's a little store that's just north of Hilo. Yeah. And they have a little store that they sell burgers and shaved ice and stuff like that. So it's just cool that we can go and we can be like behind the counter with the locals and like kind of just hang out and stuff. The kids freaking love it. Oh. Yeah. So the Hilo is always fun because it's like being part of another culture firsthand with the family kind of thing, because we have family that's there.
That's nice. Yeah. It makes such a big difference. That's like with Kelsey and Kyle living on Oahu. Like you go there and they're like, all right, we're gonna go to dinner, and you end up like in this random like shopping center. And me and Leela are like, what? Oh, we're eating sushi here? Yeah. And then like we go in and it's like, we're eating sushi here? And then you get the food and it's the best sushi you've ever had. Yeah. And you're like, all right, we now trust them 1,000% with our you know, food and beverage decisions. But it is a little bit interesting when you see the other side, and like the tourism side is dressed up and there's a fancy facade and you know, there's some good stuff in Hawaii from the tourism side, but oh my gosh, the local food and the local experiences out there is so much better.
Yeah, totally. It's funny walking around that place, though, like, because I have 100% construction brain.
Oh, dude.
And I pick apart everything all the time. And I'm just like, how do you do that? How do you do that? Why'd they do that? Yeah. And, you know, it's like, but Hawaii is the most interesting place to go to for me and that brain process, because there's just the epitome of terrible and the epitome of epic. Yeah. And like.
Sometimes on the same property.
Yeah.
Like,
100%. Because just an example, there's the Hilton that's in Waikoloa. Okay. And it is, I don't know, it's a freaking city of its own.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah. Shop, Starbucks, all the things.
Yeah. They've got a fucking dolphins in a natural lagoon that they made there. And it's like all kinds of crazy stuff, but it's man-made lagoon. And then they've got these crazy columns and this just, you know, like open air pergolas that are like I would say 40 times bigger than anything we've ever touched. Wow. And just like these really cool, immense things. But then that was done. Those contractors left. Then you get the fixes. Yeah, yeah. And then it's like you look and you see like the patch jobs of like the flagstone, and you see the like carpentry repairs or the lack of irrigation repairs. In Hawaii, like, dude,
they have plenty of water. They don't really give a fuck.
Like, why are we even putting that in the ground, guys? It's like just obstacles at this point. Yeah. So I love walking around and just looking at stuff. Yeah. And by myself, because if I do it with my wife, she just gets annoyed.
Yeah, you got to kind of do it silently, because otherwise it's just so annoying. Shut up. I do the same thing. I think a lot of people probably listening do the same. So hey, look, we end every episode with a trade secret. And so my question to you is, today, on this beautiful June day, what's a trade secret that you have? Something maybe that you've learned over the years of stubbing your feet into door jams and knees into desks.
Since this has been I've had 2 one-to-ones today, and in both conversations, this has come up. So I think that this is a thing that I've practiced over the last, I would say, 5 to 6 years with help from you and Shane. Through delegation. But what I'm going to say is, trust your team to do the things and not get in their way. We all have, and there's this famous saying where it's like, if you don't have an assistant, you are one. And I've taken that to heart in the past where it's like, oh, I need an assistant. And it's like, no, I have a team.
Yeah.
And my team acts as, you know, an extremity of my own. And we all understand how each arm, leg, eyeball, ear should all operate, right? But if you take your hand and put it over your ear, you can't hear. And if your teammates are getting in the way of yourself or you're getting in the way of your teammates, then nothing gets done, or it doesn't get done right, or you fuck it up or whatever. And through scaling and through growth, the trust of letting your teammate do what you used to do and letting go of that is so hard, but so crucially important for the growth. And I'm realizing that now. And not only am I realizing that now, I'm teaching that now, which then becomes even more valuable to me.
Yeah.
So it's like you look at your student and you're like, why aren't you doing this? And then you look back at yourself, it's like, oh, I did the same thing.
I was in the same spot.
Yeah. And that's a trade secret, is that like you have to instill the trust in your team and let them do it so that, one, they believe that you have trust in them, and two, they feel success when they accomplish that. And then everybody moves forward together.
Yeah, that's really well said. I think this podcast is going to help a lot of people. Hopefully it helps at least one person. I think it will.
I hope so.
That's our journey.
I hope that my presence is worthwhile.
It definitely was. Thank you so much. Appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, man. Of course.
And if you guys want to follow Jeremy on LinkedIn, check him out, give him a DM. And just, if you do DM him on LinkedIn, put in the subject title Trades Talk, because if not, it's really hard to decipher from all the spam we get on LinkedIn.
I'll delete it in a split second.
The LinkedIn DM game right now is wild.
It is.
Like I get like 40 to 50
There's
a day.
so much phishing.
Ugh.
So much phishing.
So, or just send us an email over here. You want to give your email out? Info at candylandscaping.com.
That'll work.
Ask to get connected to Jeremy. And if you're really from this podcast and not an AI listening to the transcript somewhere, Nicole will patch you through.
Absolutely.
So, awesome. All right.
Yeah, I think if LinkedIn, if they reach out via LinkedIn, I'm happy to address those things.
Perfect. All right, guys, there's another episode in the books. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll see you on the next one.
Thanks for tuning in to Trades Talk, where the next generation of disruptors comes to raise the bar. If you got value from today's episode, share it with someone in the trades who's ready to level up. For more tools, insights, and community, follow host Justin White and join the movement at jwhitegroup.com.